Thank you, Irlen. Thank you all for being here and sharing those ideas with Irlen and with the Irlen, let's say, system. I thank you very much, Irlen, for inviting me to be here and be your keynote speaker. I am very honored with your invitation. I want you to know that we joined you 10 years ago. Irlen, if you remember,
I remember.
was in 2005, and Marcia and I, we have a foundation. We are working for the last 30 years trying to help kids at school. Initially with some basic refractional problems like myopia and hyperopia. That was what I learned with my Professor Milton Rocha, with whom I learned to become an ophthalmologist. And I had the chance to graduate in medical school and take ophthalmology, do a PhD in morphology, and then we had a scholarship to go abroad for post-graduation and postdoctoral studies, where we stayed 4 years in France, in England, and here in the United States, where I did my fellowship in cornea at the Georgetown University. And when we came back home, we decided that we should pay for the opportunity that we have studying and the post-graduation. So we decided to work this foundation as a social project. And taking care of kids was easy when concerned doing glasses and helping some patients, but it was very difficult when dealing with those basic reading disabilities that we didn't understand, that we couldn't understand through the window of ophthalmology. So we started looking abroad and looking for people that were dealing with those cases. And at that time, going to the literature, we had learned that an ophthalmologist from England named Pringle Morgan had already described it as an ophthalmologist. The problem of having a kid 20/20, but it couldn't read at all, and was someone that came from a good background. And that article kind of stimulated us to think deeper on the vision instead of looking for other reasons for that disability. And me and Marcia and I, we started looking around and visiting people abroad, trying to understand what was being done to help those cases. And between the many that we visited and talked, the approach proposed by Irlen was most rational, but more than that, I called Irlen once, and he was very kind to discuss the approach and the cases with me, as I was full of prejudice against the procedure. I could recognize that a colored lens could help anyone, but she sustained the arguments and she discussed it scientifically with me. And then Marcia came here for a training. She came by herself first time. She went back. We did cases, but we couldn't believe results. So we thought that it was a kind of a placebo. And then called us again and said, why didn't you show up? And well, how are doing your cases? And she has stimulated us to keep working. And it took us 1 year, probably, to realize it wasn't a placebo, it was indeed a result from the case. And then we start going deeper and deeper again, and getting more than the results, and we get involved and committed to spread the word and take this technique to more people. That's how we got involved with Irlen. And I still remember our first conversation, Irlen, so important it was to our life. My duty today is not easy. What I'm going to do today in about 90 minutes, less this introduction, less 80 already, oh gosh, is to give you my concept of visual system. And I do it in 40 hours in a regular course as a post-graduation at our major university. And I do it in 4 hours when we train diagnosticians in Brazil. We have trained about 2,000 diagnosticians in Brazil. Screeners, I'm sorry. So it's not easy, but I will do as much as I can, and at the end I will skip to the end because I wish I had more time to share with you some ideas. But I will try to be like, as I know we have a very diverse audience, and we have to make it, I will try to make it simple, and I'll try to just to do what I call a trip from the eyes through the brain. That's the name that I gave to my course when I presented, and I have presented it at the American Academy of Ophthalmology, American Society of Cataract and Refractive Surgery, we are very proud that our course has been between the 10 best courses in the last in the last 3 years. But as soon as they realized what exactly that was what kind of course it was, so we were a little bit heterodox, we lost the chance to keep presenting it at those meetings. I run a lab at our major university. I'll give you the name so you can take a look, and it's still in Portuguese, but you can ask for a Google translator, and you go through it's reasonably understandable if you get a translation. And the name is lapan.com.br, alpan.com.br. lapan.com.br. Okay, so I wish I had the training of Robbie Williams doing "Good Morning Vietnam" and do it very fast, but I don't. Okay, oh, there it is. And Irlen, congratulations for the conquering new directions and open new horizons, because that's exactly what we are doing. We were proud to have hosted the international conference, the 11th international conference in 2012. And down here is just we are doing national meetings. Organized ophthalmologists inferiorly here. We are for the third national meeting on neurovision. Neurovision is just a way that we can aggregate the different researchers and people interested in vision from the brain processing. So our next meeting will be in November this year. And that's the course, Vision, a trip through the eyes, through the eyes. It's not from the eyes, it's through the eyes, because brain starts with the retina. And that's the image that I like the most, showing brain and eyes working together. As I told you, I'm basically an ophthalmologist. As an ophthalmologist, I use mostly those two instruments, an eye snelling basic acuity table and a refractor. We are interested in making eyes in focus. That's basically what we do the most. And that's the image that my society in Brazil has present us let's say in the ophthalmology day. It's handling an instrument with what I can look to your retina, I can look to your eyes, and in the back I have a Snelling acuity table where I can index the quality of your vision. And I understand that if you are 20/20, you are good vision, and I see no reason for you to complain for anything related to vision. And this table is just to present you some the same target, so I make it smaller until you can't see it, and that's what I consider to be your limit of vision. And of course, I have to make those tables interesting enough for each individual, so they can look at it and look for the minimum they can see. That has to be something very, very nice. And most of the people in the internet, they show 20/20, that is what we are looking for. If you see advertisement from ophthalmologists, from everyone, we just keep saying, I am able to give you 20/20. And if I give you 20/20, I see no reason for you to complain, because I gave you what's considered to be the best. And if someone comes to my office and say, he has any problem, I can say, but not because of vision, because his vision is 20/20, and if someone has 20/20 vision, I can say he is normal and he's absolutely up to do it for any visual test. But even the 20/20 for some patients might not be the same. Although we are not talking about what we consider to be good vision or not, some distortion allows you to see 20/20 even not having a perfect vision. So what I will basically try to approach with you is a little bit the difference, which is vision and what is sight, because one is different from another, but unfortunately most people have the same, consider it to have the same meaning. And so in discussion with anyone, when talking about vision, even talking about institutions today, they cannot differentiate between vision and sight. And this is, even for the professional of my area, a very, let's say, precise or subtle discussion. Vision 20/20 means spatial resolution. How small I can see the separation of lines, while vision we are considering about the whole process involving ocular motricity and ocular perception, etc. 20/20 is a static vision, meaning by static, I take a picture, and vision is much more like, say, a video and not just picture. So we do not test vision, the dynamic part of vision in our offices. We don't even have any instrument in ophthalmology that we could use to train dynamic vision. And that makes a huge difference, because most of the tests that we are involves dynamic vision, especially reading. And when you get involved in the discussion with a professional, ophthalmologist or not, it's important that you take this in consideration and put this on perspective and saying that my measurement is different from yours, and I started from the beginning. Yeah, I have 76 minutes, and I think you should get another calculator. And especially, well, it's good to work. It's not get it in the bank, not in the bank account. Especially what happened with the statement and dyslexia, and I think that Ellen was very happy, very fortunate in approaching the case in a good manner, a good humor, and discuss, yes, folks, that's right, folks, dyslexia is not related to eyesight. But I don't know if you have perceived the subtle difference that is in this statement, in this answer by Ellen. But I would like you to keep in mind this discussion, vision and sight. Now, as ophthalmologists, I can tell you that we are in the world of the new age of technology, new lasers, new stuff, and probably some of you have already had a cataract surgery, and you know that the ophthalmologists are very proud to say we have the best lenses, the best lasers, the best procedures. It's difficult to think of a specialty that I have been allowed to recuperate your eyesight to a level that you had as you had when you are young. Very few specialties have done so much for the patients. New lenses, new stuff, but even though we have plenty of problems in our post-op, in our post-op patients. Patients complain with things that we cannot understand when using the multifocal lenses. Jay McDonald is a friend of mine, and I am the medical editor for the Ocular Surgery News in Latin America for the last 20 years. So I read a lot of papers that are submitted for presentation, and Jay McDonald is my fellow here in the States for the eye ward in the neurovision. And we discuss a lot, but I still have not been able to convince Jay of our approach. But I just want to let you know and go through a little bit in Good Morning Vietnam that we have plenty of problems that we do not understand through the window of the ophthalmologist. But I can understand through the window of the Irlen approach, because I know that many of those cases are Irlen cases that has not been screened enough for them not to be allowed to go to a multifocal lens that is a very difficult lens to use by the patient. It demands a lot of visual processing skills. And those cases, when they go through, they complain of many different complaints that would be easy to find if you understand easily, but if you don't understand, we call by strange names of negative dysphotopsia, and we blame. We do not know if there is a causation or a correlation, just to go through. And for the first time, American Academy of Ophthalmology used the term neuroadaptation. The first time in 2007, they admitted that there was something beyond the retina in terms of vision. And still, we have very few cases and discuss it with this approach. And of course, the industry is happy to offer you an equipment that can offer you the 20/20 approach. And we have not seen yet in our academy anyone willing to open the discussion to something beyond the retina. So, where is the missing link that are not allowing you to have a understand? Oh, I like that milk in here, because they got the answer. So it's in a pack of milk. Have you seen me, an ophthalmologist? I have the brain. I'm here. And that's the missing link, is just to understand that vision goes beyond retina, and I have to look, and I learned this since I learned more about vision processing. The eye is an organ. The eye can measure the visual acuity because the eye is an organ in the image of an optical device. Although it's not exactly that what the eye does, the eye is an optical device. I can correct with lenses, refractional lenses. This presentation will be available to you through Irlen, so don't be concerned about taking notes. And I measure static vision. And for the visual disabilities, I have to look at vision as a function, as an information process. I have to look at it in the dynamic perspective. So, in order to compare both, you just easily compare the computer and the software. And I like this. I like this approach, and I tell my kids since from the very first beginning that the difference between one is that one you can kick and the other one you can blame. So pay attention to that. And I taught this to my boy, and once the professor called me at the school and asked me what was my problem, what the problem of my kid had with computers. I said, why? Because all the computers that he sees, he's trying to keep the computers. I explained that it's just the way I approach vision and vision and the eye. I still don't know how to point at if someone in the technical support can teach me. And that is the brain. That is the brain that we interest. That's the brain that. Can you help me with the pointer? So for the brain, most of the image that you see just the cortical area. You show eyes, the optic nerve, and the cortical area. What is the cortical area? The cortical area is our conscious vision. Is when I ask you something about vision and you answer me. You say I'm seeing A, B, C, and I'm watching or not watching, good or better. But there are many other parts in the brain that are deep in the brain. That are here deep in the brain, the superior colliculus and other areas that are related to the ocular motricity, to the light adaptation, that are not shown in those cases, and that is the part. That is the part that interests us the most in here. So the cortical area doesn't matter very much for what we do and what we are studying in visual process. But those deep parts in the brain, neighbor of that heartbeat, breath, and other basic controls of our body are very, very important for what we do. And so from retina, and then you have all of this that basically are not studied, and I just call your attention so that you can know here. So that's the brain, that's the optical nerve going deep, and that's the other part that in TBI matters very much, with the speed of visual processing. Why? Because vision is a system of different processes going parallel to each other, but as in an orchestra, they have to have a timing. If we break this timing of each individual process, we have problems. And I hope to be able to give you more on that. But that is what I would like, and I need to have sound. That is Hubel and Thornstein. Those are the Nobel Prizes, American Nobel Prizes that is studying vision. They opened this world of visual process that was in the 80s, and I would like you to hear what he is telling us. We have no sound? Discount. We need this. I mean, maximum. So, are we going to have a support for sound?
He just went out to make an adjustment.
It's very important. I'm sorry, but we do need to hear Hubel. But what is Hubel saying? Let me try to tell you what he's saying. He's telling us that when he started studying the vision, they got a cat, and through a monitor, they could hear what the nerves were saying. They get an electrode in the vision of the cat, and they showed stuff to the cat. So they showed light and expected to register the codes of the nerve.
It was the process of slipping the piece of glass.
Okay, let's go.
The researchers actually listened in to individual nerve cells firing at the anesthetized cat as they presented it with different visual images.
When we started working, Torsten and I, in the late 50s, we set up our first experiments, and they didn't go well because at the beginning we couldn't make the cells fire at all. We'd shine lights all over the screen, and nothing seemed to work. And rather by accident, one day, we were shining small spots, either white spots or black spots, onto the screen, and we found that the black dot seemed to be working in a way that at first we couldn't understand until we found that it was the process of slipping the piece of glass into the projector, which swept a line, a very faint, precise, narrow line across the retina. And every time we did that, we'd get a response.
Well, what did he say? He said that the eye is not sensitive to light. The eyes do not feel light. For the eye to register a scene, they need contrast. And he was very surprised that he could project light in the retina and get no reaction at all. And this is very surprising because that Hubel told us that many years ago, but we still feel like the eyes are sensitive to light. And no, the eye has a receptive field that it needs to have light in the center, and those receptive fields are very different from another. But if I do not project contrast in the retina, I have no vision registration. So I either have dark inside and light outside, or light inside and dark outside, in order to have registered vision. So basically, we are saying, if I project dark or light in the retina is the same, but if I project contrast, yes, then I have results. And paintings have seen that very long before. And that's one of the wrongly called the optical illusions that I like the most to explain that to you. You remember that A and B is shown to be different in color, but when you separate the background and get the same background for both, you see that there's the same line. Meaning by that, the vision system is specialized in helping you to see contrast where they found contrast, even though it's in the same scene. So it's very sophisticated in terms of manipulating his perception, his sensitivity to light. And that's, for me, is the most expressive way of showing it, because it's very clear that we have two different colors in here, but no, they are basically the same. But our eyes, because of the background, make us see different. Why am I telling you that? Because some people don't, and some people have difficulty dealing with some basic task of vision because they do not have these basic skills of dealing with vision. And vision, that's the modern way to measure vision, is just to try to understand your ability, your skill to differentiate dark from light, and I make it go in the steps until it mixes, and you have no more the ability to differentiate in the strips that are larger or small. And we call it high frequency and low frequency, high contrast and low contrast. And that's how people look at contrast and frequency. And interestingly, each part is perceived by the different part of the visual system. So this is what the eye sees, and this is what the brain sees. And those are the intermediated part. So when I look at anything, I don't look just with my eyes. I look with my visual system. And that is what my brain sees, and that's what my brain is seeing, that's what my eye is seeing, and everything put together gives me the final image perception that I have. So, and this is what I measure in my office, taking an SNAP and acuity test. Why am I telling you that? Because you get involved in discussion with doctors and optometrists and all these people and say, is the vision normal or not? So if we are going to discuss with him, you could say, doctor, that is the vision you are referring. But that is the vision I am referring when approaching in the Irlen context. That's the window, the big window that I would like you to see, because your window is too narrow for you to understand what we are discussing. So, vision is much more than visual acuity, and that's what my eyes, my vision can help me to do. See a show, see bright lights in the stage, and look to my companion at my side in the dark and still look and still see him. It's light adaptation. That's what we have, the most precious in our vision system. So, remember this, to optimize vision, the 500 millions of evolution in our vision system help us to optimize the way we perceive vision, because we need to have good vision in the dark, in the clear, in different places. Like in here, I have people under light and I have people under the shadow, but I am able to look at them and see all of them at the same. So keeping the good morning Vietnam, let's move ahead and say that my eyes are not sensitive to light, but my brain is very sensitive to light. My eyes are not sensitive to light for the vision purpose, but my eyes are very sensitive if I consider my retina to be part of my brain. If I have light in excessive in the environment, or because I cannot deal with, I cannot get adapted, I cannot activate my system of light adaptation, yes, I get very sensitive and very painful. So do not think that photophobia is just related to vision, because a blind person can have photophobia. And this is in the literature. I'm not showing because we have no time. And then, and because there is a guy watching me here, and hypersensitivity to light. Oh gosh, forgot to translate this, but this is from our Academy of Ophthalmology, and we still are resistant to have a better understanding of the way we deal with photophobia. And then you have all these cases. Anytime you hurt the basic brain mechanism of dealing with light adaptation, yes, you get photophobia. It doesn't matter. You either do not have it because you are premature or immature visual system, or because you had a concussion, you had a disease, you had an intoxication, then you lose this precious ability to deal with light and you develop photophobia. So that takes us to some basic discussion and conclusion. The eye is just, the eye is often compared to a camera. And yes, the eye can be compared to a camera as an optical device. But there's no image formed in the retina. There's no such a case that the image is formed in the retina and sent to the brain. The eye is just a collector of light, or not light, of contrast information, sending it to the brain so the brain can form an image. So although the eye can be compared to an optical device, there is no image formation in the eye. And let's finish saying that Snelling visual acuity. That's what we say today. The eye may be compared to a camera. The vision is formed in the retina and sent to the brain. Snelling visual acuity is a reliable index of vision. If my patient has 20/20, I can tell him his normal vision performance. And if the vision is 20/20, I can tell the vision is normal because there's no other measure for vision, and the brain never fails. I'd like to, this is a double slide to show you, those are the wrong concepts that I try to correct in my field of ophthalmology. This is much more, is like much more appropriate to show for my ophthalmic audience. And this is still, Margaret Livingstone is a very precious person in Harvard. She was a fellow with David Rubel, and this is in her book. Vision is a much more complex function that most people realize. And let me take you, that is the trip, if I'm telling you a trip, I will invite you to show at those tables, and I'm quite sure, I'm not going to ask you, but all of you agree that that's the worst image, right? You all agree with me, right? So, but let me ask you, try to read in both, and try to see which one you can go smaller. The one that looks worse. So even the perception that you have from an image in terms of quality are not giving you the right information, because that is the best image. That's the best, although that's the one you think is the best. All right? Let's go. One of the things that this is still new. This is still new. We are, as an ophthalmologist, proposing correction of aberrations of second and third degree for our patients. And that is a mistake, because the eye cannot be correct from all its aberrations, because the eye needs aberrations to correct vision. And let me show you that. I will invite you now to look at the green point. So keep looking at the green point for at least 15 minutes. And this is very impressive. Yeah. Oh, no, seconds. Subtle difference. So now keep looking at the green. Keep looking at the green. And so when you're looking at the green, our eyes start getting adapted to the image. And now keep looking at the green, and what happened? Oh gosh, I adapted my eyes for one side, and when I saw a deeper image, the one that was good became worse. So just to show you how much we have in terms of mechanism for adaptation to have to get the best perception. And that's very old, 1981. This ophthalmologist, who was still an engineer, was telling us the eyes are a very bad as an optical device. 500 million years of evolution, and it is still, our eyes are the worst equipment that we can have. Now, and this is just to go fast, and Holiday is a friend of us here from Houston, and he's saying how many, this is Holiday. Holiday is from here, he's an ophthalmologist from here in Houston, and he is a specialist in vision quality, telling us how bad our eyes. And this is Horde is another optometrist from the he's from Oklahoma, and he's telling us the eyes are very bad as an optical device. And one of the things that we have the worst in our eyes are the chromatic aberrations. The chromatic aberrations count for almost 2 diopters of difference between, in terms of aberration. And now look at that, because this is important for what we do. Because if you look to the eyes as an optical device, I can tell you that every optical device is a set of lenses and filters to help me to perfect what I see. And if that is true, and also if optical chromatic aberration is most important, that is a subject that interests us the most in our laboratory, is to ask if cases that we are dealing with in the Irlen cases are not cases where the optical aberration is the main cause for the symptoms starting in the eyes. But it's just a matter of introducing you that. So again, a small conclusion. Since the vision is sensorial, and every sensory is a filter that helps us to extract information from the vision, is from light, audition, hearing, from sound, and so and so. I mean, I need to have a filter. Remember the radio, if you are not well tuned, you get lots of noise. So what we do as a vision is to have a sensorial filter that is selective for a very narrow strip of electromagnetic radiation, and is so sensitive that it is narrow. It's like in 60 kilometers, you will be watching to 5 centimeters. That is the strip of light that is visible. Now, even if this strip, if I go a little bit down in ultraviolet, it's toxic. And if I go a little bit up in the infrared, it's not visible anymore. The eye is not sensitive. So, even being very small, we are so sensitive that we have trouble going to the limits of it. Eye is an optical device, so light you can precisely focus in each photoreceptor. That is what counts. I need to get the precise point. That's because the eye is an optical device. Because each photoreceptor has to map what is outside from the contrast. Poor optics optimized for adaptation. Now, our poor optics are optimized for adaptation and not for a particular condition. For anyone that has used a microscope, you know that when you have a good focus, you go and see the image, perfect. But the smallest change that you have in focus, you lose completely. That microscope was optimized to have focus. Our eyes are not optimized for a particular task. They are optimized to get adapted, dark and clear, to see contrast, to see any aspect of image. So that takes us to evolution. Because we cannot understand ourselves and our body if we do not understand evolution. And look at that. The eyes for animals, well, we have 8 basic types of evolution classified today, and that is our ancestor. And that is the old world. He had to get adapted, and he had to use his eyes to look at his prey or escape the predator, and basically he had no need to small prints or small stuff like we have today. Reading is the most important task today, like hunting, who could be, let's say, the most important task of yesterday. So we have no time for evolution to reach here. Our vision system is submitted to a big stress due to the change that we are exposed to today, in changes in how we use our vision. Considering artificial light, we spend most of our time under artificial light. I think that for most of you living in cold countries, probably you are under artificial light and probably close to 100%. I heard that summertime is in July 25 in Sweden. In some countries is something, and we have much we have a lot of sunlight in Brazil. But even though I can tell you that 6% of my time I am under artificial light. So I guess you in Canada and even in some cold parts here, how much artificial light you are exposed. And look at that. We are not interested in knowing the spectral range of the lights that are in this room. I'm trying to buy an equipment that allows me to measure light, the spectral range of light environments, but there's none in the market. So, is this healthy? This light in here? Is the light today, we buy, most of the light that we buy from China. And in the lab, we took some LED LEDs to the lab, and we saw that they are very strong in ultraviolet violet content. So we want to condemn some of the light that are being sold to in the commercial, in the business, and some of those lights are very toxic, and they're not measured. And we measure sound. We are very concerned about the respect and how many decibels we are in the environment, but not at all about light. And so we do not know if part of the light we have been using in our environments are toxic or not. Fritz, this is a task for you in Switzerland, because International Council for Light is in Switzerland. Go to visit them. So I think this is a point that I would like to share with you, and then a little bit of vision, basic concept. What is vision for? Why do we have vision? Vision is basically what I see. Where is it? Because I have to either hunt my prey or escape from my predator. And vision is also when, which is time. I have to be able to use my system to calculate where I'm going to find someone. Otherwise, I couldn't drive. I couldn't drive because I couldn't calculate, I couldn't estimate, I couldn't anticipate what is coming for me. I couldn't navigate in my environment if I couldn't use my vision system to help me to anticipate, to drive. If my ability to see what, where, and when is compromised anyhow, my vision system is compromised. And interestingly, those are done by different parts of the vision system that's different anatomically and functionally. Completely different parts of the brain that working together allow us to go through these tests. And one we call the parvo, and the one we call the magnocellular system. What does that mean? Parvo means small. Magno means big. It's just an anatomical definition of the two systems, because that's how it was discussed. And this is very important for us in Irlen, because that's the system that interests us the most. That is the system that's more important. We are working with this part of the brain. But they are also given names, other names, like ventral and dorsal streams, being ventral, the parvo, and dorsal, the magno. One stream for perceptual processing and another stream for controlling actions. The ventral pathways contain specialized areas for face perception, letters. The letter box, what we call the letter box in the brain, is the same for facial recognition. There is a person in France, in Paris, that is studying reading the most. His name is Doani, and he gave this name to the part of the brain that reads, letterbox. And interestingly, when you start reading a lot and learning a lot, part of our facial recognition system in the brain goes to the other side. So we have the ventral and the dorsal. The ventral is recognition, the dorsal stream controls eye movement, reaching and grasping and action. And those systems are different even in the eye. This is the part more connected. It's not just one part, but it is more connected to the part of the ventral or the parvo, which is able to see color. And this is the part that is more connected to the magnum, that sees movement, and this is also called the scotopic system. And this is the photopic, because one is in the A, photopic, and the scotopic. It's just a matter of introduction to let you know that we just look and we use our eyes to look in the center. We just are able to see our nail in the thumbnail extended to the distance of the eyes. That's the maximum vision that we have. It's very limited. So we are able to look in the center. All the periphery is out of focus. And I like using these glasses to show, and this is big, but this is like I would be reading this way. This is how small we read. But if I use this, I'm still able to see much more than but you wouldn't see how small would be my central vision. Just to be didactic. And if I move my focus up here, and you see everything is out of focus. It's just to give you this basic idea. So, in order to read, we use saccadic movements and fixations, and a lot of it. And that's how we read. That's how we look at stuff, but we don't see it. We do it 3 times per second. We do it 3 times per second in order to extract information, because we read so little. And there are different ways of saccadic movements that we use. We will not stop to them. And when I look to something, I extract information in a rational way. Depending on the information I want to extract, I make a trick with my eyes, extract the information 3 times per second. Why I'm telling you that? Because we know that our patients do not have full skill on those tasks. For reading, this is the way. This is the book of Stanislaw Doeni in Paris. He just shared some time with us in Belo Horizonte recently, and that's how we read. We skip parts of the brain, parts of the word, exact information. And we are not chameleon, because the chameleon can address the eye, target the eyes to different directions and keep seeing, but we don't. We need to converge our eyes for the same point, and this is how we do when reading. We move our eyes, stopping, walking, stopping, moving, stopping, moving, stopping, moving. And we have a precise time that we need to extract the information. When I'm moving, I have to close my entrance of information, and when I stop, I have to open to get a picture of what I'm seeing, not a picture exact, because I told you we do not form pictures, but we extract the information and move. But I was showing you an ideal reader. Most of us, we have some regressions. We move forward and backward, and when the kid is starting reading, we do lots of regressions. An ideal reader would be very perfect, would not move backward, but we have not found yet the perfect reader. We always do a little bit of regression. But how does our patients behave? We have a very poor mechanism of reading. And so sometimes we make, and that's how we see, besides other mechanisms that are altering, we just have some changes in this part. And if you want to understand and see those patients, you can do this base exam. You will find most of them will react this way when you do. You gotta be slow. Does not have to be fast, but ask them to make a pursuit to some object that you show them. First of all, most of them will find it difficult to look at something moving slowly. But when you make it a little bit more difficult, for the regular patient, that's how he reads. He is able to follow. And this is our patient. He's moving head more than eyes. Okay? Look at that. Because as a kid, you move less your eyes and move your head. It's the same for... It's just very simple. And then when you make a little bit more stressful, that's why you can. Okay? So, vision, what we see depends on spatial resolution, depends on how much I can separate lines and see small objects. Where is the spatial orientation, is the vision that I have on the environment where I am. And when is temporal resolution. In the lab, we do it differently. And this is spatial resolution, sparable and magno. And I told you about evolution. And see some people when exposed to temporal resolution. Now, if a frog can die over all his food, but he'll not be able to see it if he's not expected. So magno is the system. So it's good morning Vietnam. Let's go. I'm watching my time going by. What I saw, magno is this. Basically, will help us to move in the environment, to move, navigate. It's automatic. It's not conscious. That's one of the problems to deal with our patients. We cannot ask them objective questions and see how our magno help us, the automatic help us to escape. Okay? So that's the magno. I don't see it, I do it automatically. That's the magno allows me to do. And we hope we learn how to deal with that.
The basics.
Beginning.
Babies have to learn where things are and what they have to do to grab them. And until they get it right, it can be a frustrating process.
That's vision. Vision is obeys a Bayesian statistical model. That means I knew it before. The new scene, I have to put it on the top of what I learned. So putting those two together, I take the decision. I learn how to make it. So I have to go fast here. So just a comparison. I have to know what is the piece, and I need to know where to move the piece. So what is my system that allows me to identify what I'm seeing, is my power system, and where is my where to put it. So, and I like the conductor because the conductor aggregates the sense of temporal frequency, the timing that I have to do my stuff. We have been able to identify about 60 subsystems in vision today that work together as an orchestra to get the music done properly. If I lose this time, as we lose in TBI, and some of the patients are losing, we miss our ideal point. And the parvocellular is reading the music. And how we use it, I love this video because it's so nice to see people anticipate. And I went to India, and I was surprised because I didn't see any accident at all. And you just see people doing very crazy stuff like no? This is all the Magnum system. So Magnum in Parvo is different. And look what we do in terms of gaze stabilization. You have one system. If I didn't have my gaze stabilization allowed by my Magnum system, that's how I would be. And this is my gaze stabilization, so I can move, I can walk and read, I can do a lot of stuff, but our patients don't. We can read and have a gaze stabilization done automatically, but if I have to do it consciously, it's very tiresome. And if you want to experience what our patients experience, try to read in a car, in a bad road. That's just basically what happens with them, because they have to control their gaze consciously, and it's very difficult. It's the same if you try to breathe for yourself, to breathe by yourself, like controlling. At 3 minutes, you start getting very tired. Okay? And again, a little bit of what and where. Where is Wally? Huh? This is visual. What and where. And you have to search. You have to look for. So I'm going to go a little bit faster and a little bit of temporal resolution. This is we close as in the movie. Movies, the cinema is made basically following what we do in vision. This is the temporal resolution. We extract the information and put it together, because if I have never seen that scene, I could not know what was happening here. Now, what do I like in here? It's because when you use the systems, you use them independently, looking one and another, like in the temporal, like in the 3D, you have systems that use Polaroid lenses, or you have a system that give you exposition to different images, one in the right eye and the other one in the left eye, in different timing. But in here, I expose you, I ask you to use simultaneously your magnum and temporal. So try to look at the image and not be annoyed by the waves that stimulate your magnum vision. Very difficult, very tiring, because you have to use either one or another when we give the contrast. Good morning, Vietnam. This is how, I think this is very, very important to show you. Again, magnum. See, this is what, you are not watching this. This is,
Over 20 million kids every day in our country lack access to healthy food.
For the first time, American kids are slated to live a shorter lifespan than their parents. It's a problem that we can turn around and change.
I'll skip this. I'm not being able to show you. I was showing main part, but this is.
Revolution Foods is a company we started to provide access to healthy, affordable, kid-inspired.
Okay, I'll skip this. So that's an image. Look at this. You can see an image, but anything that moves call your attention. You're going to instantaneously see what is moving. Because that's the magnet. The magnet is the emergency system, calls you. Again, that's the system we're dealing with. Any image that I show you, you see the image. Even, and I think that most of you have seen the mirror reflecting the image. Huh? We call the attention just to show how movement calls our attention. And finally, that's the scene that I like, the inside out.
So, how was the first day of school?
It was fine, I guess. I don't know. Do you ever look at someone and wonder what is going on inside their head?
Did you guys pick up on that?
Sure did.
Something's wrong. We're gonna find out what's happening, but we'll need support. Signal the husband.
Uh-oh, she's looking at us. What did she say?
What? Oh, sorry, sir. No one was listening.
Is it garbage night? We left the toilet seat up. What? What is it, woman? What?
Signal him again.
So, Riley, how was school?
Are you kidding me?
For this, we gave up that Brazilian helicopter pilot?
School was great, all right?
What was that? I thought you said we were gonna act casual.
Riley, is everything okay?
Sir, she just rolled her eyes at us.
All right, make a show of force. I don't want to have to put the foot down.
No, not the foot.
Riley, I do not like this new attitude.
Oh, I'll show you attitude.
No, breathe.
What is your problem? Just leave me alone.
Sir, recording high levels of sass.
Take it to DEFCON 2.
DEFCON 2.
I don't know where this disrespectful attitude came from.
You want a piece of this, Pops?
Yeah, well, look.
Prepare the foot.
Keys to safety position. Ready to launch on your command, sir.
Just shut up.
Fire! That's it. Go to your room.
The foot is down. The foot is down.
Good job, gentlemen. That could have been a disaster.
Well, that was a disaster.
Okay, this is just a commercial for Disney. I love this approach, but so it's the brain looking from inside. So I hope that Disney will make a video telling us how vision works in this way with different perspective. So skip a little bit. The guy measure my time is very strict. Let's share with you what I am doing in the lab. We are doing some nice stuff, like we develop a chair so we can vibrate this chair and try to see the limits of gaze stabilization for our subjects. We are using, developing a pupillometer so we can understand a little bit the basic mechanism of light adaptation. We are trying to develop an eye track that could be easily used by most of us. Today, a good eye track is sold by Tobii, is costing between FOB price $40,000 to $60,000. It's a lot of money. We need something more simple and easy to use and more appropriate to use in the clinic. We have also developed a project. We think that screening kids at school is very, very important. So we developed a project where we have the health intelligence, the technology, meaning the equipment, and the methodology to do it automatically in school. It's in the web. It's still in Portuguese, but using a translator, you can have an idea of how it works. We expect to start it with 205,000 kids this year. Unfortunately, we are having a hard time with government in Brazil at this moment. But our institutions are strong and have been able to investigate cases of corruption, but this is for the government, so dealing with the government, we have developed this system, and I think it can be useful for all of you all over the world because it obeys international standards of electronic medical and health management. What else? This is for a healthy childhood. You need a right start. That's basically. I hope you can find time. The lab, the BU is my lab at the university. UFMG is my university, my major university. This is the hospital. This is the bom começo is good start. CNPq is our major funding agency in Brazil. FAPEMIG is our state institution. The other one is my foundation. We are also supported by Gates Foundation. Invite you for the meeting in Brazil in November 19. We hope to make it with some methods of allowing people to participate from abroad. Some of you went to there last year. I think you have appreciated. My basic goal today was sharing with you and do this trip from the eyes to the brain. I think this is very important for that everyone understand the difference between vision and sight. It's important that we understand that we are dealing with the unconscious part of the brain that deals with the mechanism of light adaptation, saccadic movements, and that's what's disturbed the most in the patients that we are treating. I hope that gives you a little bit of argument when we are discussing with the other side, with the dark side, that is committed to sight and discussion sight as vision. I hope to have given you the arguments for you to deal with this people. I was in the dark side, so I do not complain because if you would tell me the things I'm telling you today, you'd say, this is absurd, can't be. Vision stops in the eye. We form the image in the retina and the image is sent to the brain. The problem is there's no one in the brain to look at the image. You are projected there, so if that will be the case, you would have no vision. And thank you very much.